So, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good, thanks. I watched Daughter the other day and absolutely loved it.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
Um, how did you come to be a part of this project?
I met Vivian Ngo, who plays Sister, the new daughter in the film, and also one of the film's producers. I met her in 2018, Queen Sugar, when I played her mother. And we just had a really good time. And she says, I want to work with you again. I want to write something for you. I want to do a movie and I want you to play my mommy again. So I said, sure. When someone says that to you, of course you say yes. And she went away and she talked to Corey about it. So it was always meant, and she always wanted to play sister and brother with Ian Alexander. So it was always meant for us because she wanted to have us play her family. And then Corey just created the script, like how to make that happen, take the idea from there, make it happen. And they sent me the script and I loved it because Corey is such a good writer. It's smart, it's scary. Mother is interesting, and layered and complex. So I said, I'm in. And that's that. It was pretty simple.
I love it. I love it. Um, yeah, so kind of how would you describe this story?
How would I describe the story? Without giving too much away, I would describe it as it's weird and creepy, but also funny. And it's about people trying to survive. And I
Well,
think that it's a universal thing that everybody should be able to relate to. We are just trying to get by and survive in this world, right?
yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Um, how did you prepare to play the role of mother?
I met with Vivian a few times because the script was written in English, but we always knew that mother and sister would speak Vietnamese together. So I did some translation. I worked on the translation of those scenes, and then I would meet with Vivian so that we can go through those together. And then the internal work, what I did was I reread the script several times. And even when mother wasn't speaking, I wanted her to have an opinion and a feeling about everything that she was observing. And I wanted to figure out how to fill up that space, that inner life, because it's not just about you don't come to life when you speak on camera, right? That's not who people are. You can be at a party and you can be sitting there observing, but I'll bet you have an opinion about, oh, that lady over there, I don't know, right? And that guy, uh-huh. Like we have an opinion even when we're not speaking. So I wanted to fill out the in between spaces in scenes, even when mommy wasn't speaking. I'm like, what is she thinking here? So that when I showed up in every scene, I had an internal monologue. And no matter what I was doing, that's how I felt. If there were moments and they were subtle, I don't know, some people caught it, some people, they have said to me, like they caught it. I was so surprised. I'm like, oh, you caught that? I was kind of passive aggressive in the way I served food. Maybe you should, how does mom feel about serving food and having to cook breakfast every morning? And so I would serve the food maybe more passive aggressively. Like I would plop the egg, maybe a little harder on the thing. And there was a way I would cutting the meat, like everything, the way I was preparing the bed. I just wanted to, I just wanted mother to have an opinion about everything.
I love it. I love it. Um, are you a natural Vietnamese speaker?
I am. I'm a native speaker. It's my first language. I'm born in Saigon. I was born in
Oh,
Saigon.
oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. I'm a refugee. I came here because of the war. So I'm a refugee. And here I am, actor making films, which is crazy to me because I remember watching American films in theaters in Vietnam. And I was too young to read subtitles, because subtitles go by fast. And I was just still in grade school. I could read, but like I'm talking, I was like 5. So, can't really keep up with subtitles. And I remember watching Hollywood films and being just like this because they were next level on with the kind of budget that American films had.
Mhm.
And I remember a tiny little seed was planted in the back of my little brain that I want to do that someday, maybe. But then thinking that is so crazy. I'm a kid living in Vietnam, right? What the heck? Like, how is that going to happen? I don't even know where America is, right? Like, where is the US? I don't even know. So it feels, I don't want to use the word crazy, but it just, sometimes I can't believe it that I'm actually here in Hollywood working in making films, here in LA. It's like, how did I get here? But I'm here.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Um, so a lot of this movie is confined to just a few locations, and there are times where it feels very cramped, and then times that feel very distant. Did that pose any challenges when filming?
Um, You'd have to ask maybe Corey. That might be a better question for Corey. I'm sure there were challenges, right? Because there are challenges in every film set. But for me, because I just have to show up as an actor, like for Vivian too, she's one of the producers and she wore many hats. So she might have a different answer for you. Like, oh yes, it was challenging. We had a lot of challenges. There were wildfires, and we had like power outage. Like one day, like woo, in the middle of the day, like what? Our house was dark, but we still have 3 more scenes to do. Like, what happened? You know? And I remember like one time we were outside, there was a wasp attack. Like, what? And I was chased by runaway dogs. I was in the yard, and somebody's dogs had just gotten out of the yard, and they were huge, and they were chasing me, and I'm like, help, I'm gonna die. Like, so I mean, it was funny now. It was terrifying then. But for me, I guess one location was easier because I didn't have to think like, where do I have to go today? You look in the call sheet, like, where do I have to go and how far do you have to drive? It was the same place. Just go to the house, same place every day. I know the way. I could go there even though it's dark outside. So yeah, it was fine. And I think that us being confined to that space in the one location, mostly, it also helped create that feeling of that we are here in this space. You
Yeah.
know, we don't get to go anyplace else. It adds to the claustrophobia that we are all here together. And until we finish this movie, this is where we're gonna be. Yeah.
Nice,
So,
nice.
yeah.
Um, what is something that you are just very excited for people to see when they watch this movie?
I am excited for people to see Vietnamese women specifically, but just POCs in general, doing a film that I hope is different. It's not common in the system, the typical whatever the system
Mhm.
is that you crank out. For example, I am often asked to do an accent when I play a Vietnamese woman, and I didn't want to do it this time because usually the thinking is that, well, you're playing a refugee woman, and we want to make sure, can you put on that accent? And I'm thinking, but I am a refugee. I really am, and I speak like this. Can I just speak like this? Because after we've been here a long time, we assimilate, and we could just speak like this. And it's like, no. So I think there are expectations when someone else created parts or wrote parts for me of what a Vietnamese woman should look like and how she sounds. I'm excited for people to see other Vietnamese actors, to see Vietnamese people speaking Vietnamese, but also English without an accent. And we're not stuck in a movie or that is all about the war. A lot of the things I'm done, there's always like, oh, it's the Vietnam War. It's always comes into the story in some way, right? There's no mention of it here. There's no war stories. And that's what I'm excited for. We're just doing a creepy little thriller, and we're not talking about war, and none of us speaks with an accent. So I want people to see that, and I hope that gets normalized, that we are just people too. We can get kidnapped just like anybody else, you know? And we can be a survivor, we can just do things and whatever. We can be in a horror film, we can be in a thriller. It doesn't have to just be a war film.
I love it. I love it. Not the getting kidnapped part. That's unfortunate, but the rest of it, I do.
Yeah, yeah. It's like anything. We can do whatever kind of, we can be in any kind of genre, because we usually relegate it to the refugee story, the boat person story. There's always some kind of war angle, you know? And here, that was very intentional, like with Vivian discussion. It's like no war mentions. And so we're just Vietnamese women. And we also wanted to make sure that we didn't want to separate ourselves from our Vietnamese identity. So that's why we wanted to speak Vietnamese, to make it very clear that we are proud of being Vietnamese women. You know, we are proud of being Vietnamese women. We just don't want to be stuck in a war story.
Nice. Nice. All right. We are just about out of time. So thank you so much for chatting. I really appreciate it. And I love the movie.
Thank you so much. It was nice meeting you, Beth.
Nice meeting you too.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.